Hey guys, hope that you're doing well. My name is Alina, I am a sleep coach, and you're watching my Sleep Talks channel. Today I'm going to talk about how to get the desired amount of sleep. And this topic was inspired by one of the recent comments that I received under one of my YouTube videos. And basically, this is a very common question, and I get it on a regular basis. So I decided to create a separate video where I go deeper into this topic and try to provide you with understanding and the answer to this sort of questions. Before we begin, I want to say two things as usual. The first one is the disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor and none of this is medical advice, so it's just my general ideas, thoughts, and personal experience. And the second thing is that feel free to subscribe to my Sleep Talks letters. It is a free newsletter that I recently launched where I publish a totally different, unique content. It is basically the extracts from my coaching notes, and I hope that you can find it helpful on your personal insomnia recovery journey. So I will provide the link in the description, so feel free to subscribe. I'm going to read the comment so that you can get the context and maybe find yourself in that question. I get 5 to 6 hours of sleep now. How do I get 7 to 8 hours? I wake up after 6 hours. And first of all, those of you who've been following my teachings for some time, you know that the more we chase sleep, the less sleep we get, because sleep is beyond our control. So as paradoxical as it sounds, as long as you keep trying to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, you will be getting less, or you will be feeling more hyper aroused. So as the result, you will not be getting that desired amount of sleep. But I understand completely anyone who is just in the beginning of their journey, and this kind of like information that you need to just let go, you stop trying to get those 8 hours of sleep, might be too abstract, might be information in a way like just be yourself, or stop worrying about something, because it's in practice it's not that easy. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on education part so that everything I teach makes sense. Also, this kind of question is not really unique, meaning that this particular person has currently sleeping 5 to 6 hours, and the desired goal is 7 to 8 hours. But someone who's been having, let's say, more hyperarousal, who had let's say 1 or 2 hours of sleep regularly, but to them 5 or 6 hours seems like a very good progress. So I just want to say that both, or whatever your current sleep pattern is, I would say this information will apply to you as well, because we always, during insomnia journey, we always struggle with reality versus expectation, where reality is that we might be having either whole nighters where we don't sleep, or we might having 1 or 2 or 3 hours, and obviously we might not be satisfied with that, and our desired goal could be 6, 7, 8 hours. So in this video I will be kind of referring to this initial to this particular person's case, where the current pattern is 6 or 5 hours and the desired state is 8 hours. But whatever you are going through right now, if it's like 1 hour of sleep and your desired goal is 6 hours, so just keep that in mind. So how to get 8 hours of sleep? And in order to answer this question, I want to ask you a question. How do you get those 5 hours of sleep? How do you get those 2 hours of sleep, or whatever the duration of sleep you're having right now? So how do you actually get that sleep, which you actually experience on a regular basis? And the truth here is that exactly the same way how you got those 5 hours, in exactly the same way you get those 8 hours. And I know this might sound very confusing right now, because you might not even have the answer to this question, like how do I get those 5 hours? What do I do? And it is actually true, because no one actually knows how they get the amount of sleep they get, because sleep is something that cannot be controlled. We don't fully understand the process consciously, so that we would be able to control it, or we would be able to recreate it. So far, this hasn't been possible for any person in the world. No one could fall asleep on command. So even the fact that you've been sleeping now for 5 hours is actually happened not because you did something specific, there is some sort of like a mechanism that you have control of. It is because those 5 hours was not your goal. In other words, those 5 hours are something so ordinary, so uninteresting, so not special, that you aren't even focusing on them. You're not trying to get those 5 hours. You're trying to get 8 hours. So the 8 hours are the goal, but 5 hours aren't the goal. And now, exactly because that's where your priorities are, that's why anything that happens before that goal, before those, let's say, less than that goal, less than 8 hours or 7 hours, it happens effortlessly, because that's not where your attention is. And the moment when you begin to crave something, like, you set for yourself a goal, this starts working against you. So just like those 5 hours are something casual, something nothing special, we need to get those 8 hours or whatever the desired duration of sleep you have now into the same kind of category. Not to chase that amount of sleep, but rather take as something granted, something that can happen, might not happen, but that's okay. The moment when 8 hours stop being a goal and become something ordinary, this is when you start noticing that you're having more of those 8 or 7 hours of sleep. And the same thing goes for if you have, let's say, you want to get 6 hours and now you're currently getting, let's say, 2 hours. Exactly the same logic. So we need to take our minds off of that end goal, because the truth is, sleep cannot be a goal. Sleep is always a byproduct, a side effect of letting go of control, not trying to sleep. And I know now you might have a question: how do I remove that 8 hours from my goal? How do I stop chasing this goal? And this is a perfectly valid question, because it's not that easy to do that. It is not something that we can just easily brush off and stop caring about how much sleep we get. Because if you think of it, insomnia launches, because we have this kind of fear of wakefulness or fear of insomnia, this launches a fight or flight response from our organism. And that basically means that our brains perceive certain danger. And in this case, the danger is not getting enough sleep. This is perceived danger, but the reaction to it is exactly the same as if it would be the real danger. So in order to really lower that desire to chase the sleep, it's not really easy to do, because we are dealing with our automatic safety obsessed brain. And one of the ways how we can gently start changing things is changing our reactions when we get the desired outcome. So let's say you've been sleeping for some time, you're having regular 5 hours of sleep, and you are not satisfied with it. And then sometimes once per week, per month, or whatever, you get those 8 hours of sleep. And normally people react to this with celebration. They rejoice. They feel confident. They start feeling really happy that this happened. And I'm really glad that when this happens with my clients. But The the tricky part here is that this celebratory reaction is something that teaches the brain to crave that result more and more. So in a way, once we change this reaction, when we get what we want, we can actually teach the brain that, 8 hours is not something to celebrate. It's actually something very ordinary, very, casual, nothing to chase. And when we treat it like this is when the importance of such event lowers and we feel more at peace even if we don't get it. And paradoxically, that leads to having more of that experience because we no longer crave it. I hope that this video helped to get a better understanding of the whole situation and understand why certain amount of sleep seems effortless, but something seems like impossible. And just to recap, either way, whatever amount of sleep you're getting it because you aren't really trying to get it. You aren't really consider it something important, something worth chasing. You rather chase some other goal, which is much, higher, more hours, better quality of sleep. But because that is your goal, everything that comes before, you seem to get more like effortlessly, while that particular goal is something that seems unachievable. But in reality, once you reclassify that goal into something just like you treat your 5 hours that you're currently getting, and you start considering 8 hours basically having the same value as those 5 hours, this is when things start to change and you start having more of those desired nights. But again, keep in mind that sleep never can be a goal. The moment it starts being a goal, that's when it starts becoming more elusive. Sleep is always the side effect of letting go of control of sleep. Thank you so much for staying with me. I hope that you find this episode useful, and I want to say special thanks to my Patreon supporters. And if you want to become one as well, consider just going on my Patreon page. I will provide a link in the description. And have a nice day. Bye.